This is a presentation about memory loss, post-stroke by the American Stroke Foundation. Memory problems are pretty common after a stroke, so it's important to know what you can do to prevent memory loss from progressing and then ways to manage it. Memory gradually declines as we age, and having a stroke on top of that can accelerate memory loss. Recovering after a stroke and managing memory changes can look different for everybody. Memory is also important because it makes doing our daily tasks possible. We need our working memory to remember what it is that we need to do and how exactly that we are supposed to do it. Using our memory throughout the day can help to maintain and improve overall cognition. It can also help to prevent future memory problems as well. Another reason that memory is important is because memories make us who we are. We want to be able to remember our past, our experiences, the people in our lives, and the things that we've done. But we also want to be able to remember what we're doing in the present too, like when we're having a conversation with somebody, running errands, or even when we're getting dressed. Memory is a crucial part of being able to do all of the things that we want and need to do. Learning about the types of memory can help you get a good understanding of what memory is and how it works so that you will be able to better learn about your memory. There are three main types of memory. The first one is sensory memory, which involves all of our senses. It's when we remember how something feels, or what things look like, or smell like. It could also be memories of what something sounds like. How we get a song stuck in our heads is because we remember what the tune sounds like. Those are the main senses that we normally think of when it comes to sensory, but we can't forget about our proprioceptive senses, which is our awareness to our body and space, or our vestibular senses that collect information about our body's balance, as well as our senses that help us understand and feel what's going on inside of our body. Sensory memory plays a vital role in our ability to take in information and interact with the world around us. Sensory memories are from all of our senses. How well you remember something sometimes depends on how quickly and clearly your senses take in the experience as it happens. If your brain is recording what you see, hear, feel, taste, and smell, then it can recall them better later. It's common that memory problems come from how well the brain is taking in that sensory information clearly, not its ability to remember. Vision and listening are most important since many memories of what you see and hear makes up most of the memory. Our memory holds all kinds of information, and we have different types of memory for storing information for different lengths of time. The other two major categories of memory are short-term and long-term. Short-term memory is a way to store information temporarily. It allows you to remember things just long enough for you to use them. Long-term memory is the storage of information for longer periods of time. Short-term memories can last about 30 seconds, whereas long-term memories can last for days, months, years, or even a lifetime. Long-term memory keeps information that you will need to recall later, such as events and feelings from any part of your past. Short-term memory has a limited storage, and this means that there's only so much that you can remember for that short amount of time. If someone asked you to go to the grocery store and pick up eggs and milk, your short-term memory would allow you to remember those two items long enough for you to pick up a pen and paper and write them down. But if they told you to pick up milk, eggs, bread, butter, cheese, potatoes, soup, napkins, and pickles, probably at some point that list will get too long for you to remember. Long-term memory, on the other hand, has unlimited storage, and this means that it doesn't matter the older that you get, your brain will still be able to make new memories and never run out of space. As you would imagine, long-term memories are much more complex than short-term ones. There are many different forms of long-term memories that are created and stored in different areas throughout the brain. The two major categories are explicit memory and implicit memory. Explicit memories are ones that you have to think about to remember, such as an event in your life or a particular fact. Implicit memories are ones that help us know how to do certain things without thinking about it. They are often like an automatic response. All other types of memory tend to fall under these categories. There's episodic memory, meaning they relate to experiences or episodes in your life. If you can remember the first time you ever went to the beach, or the first time that you got stung by a bee, those are episodic memories. Semantic memories relate to facts or general knowledge. If someone asks you what the capital of the United States is and you know that it's Washington, D.C., that's an example of a semantic memory. Implicit memories can come from priming, which is when one thought triggers another memory because they are associated. An example of this is when your friend calls you and all of a sudden you might remember something that you need to tell them. You might not have remembered that you had something to tell them if they wouldn't have called you, but they are associated. Implicit memories may also be procedural, which are our skills and habits that we have. This includes our learned motor skills, like riding a bike. You once learned how, and then you remembered how, and after that, you were able to do it without even thinking about it. Repeating and practicing motions or tasks helps the brain to store information for a long time. So now that you know about what kind of memories we have, how do we make them? The first thing that has to happen is receiving the information. This is called encoding, where we first live the experience and process the information. But not everything we experience we remember. If I asked you what you ate for breakfast on August 6th, 2003, it's unlikely that you would be able to remember. We can only process the information that we pay attention to, otherwise, we normally forget it because it never registered. You can't remember something that you never actually heard or saw, right? The memories that we are able to recall are the ones that stuck out to us for a reason. The things that we saw, felt, or heard were significant enough and worthy of being remembered. We process the information that we pay attention to, then the memory travels through the brain and goes from our short-term memory to our long-term memory. If it makes it to our long-term memory, that's when we're able to remember it and recall it. It's when we're able to bring that stored memory back into our minds. It's how you can remember what kind of toys you played with as a kid, when your bills are due, or when your birthday is. So how can your memory be affected by your stroke? Memory loss is so common after a stroke that about 77% of stroke survivors report having experienced memory problems. So not only is memory important for everybody, but it's especially important for stroke survivors because you all are at a higher risk for memory loss. It is more common for stroke survivors to experience short-term memory loss more than long-term memory loss. Someone might find it hard to remember something they have just been told, but might be able to recall something that happened 10 years ago. Strokes can affect the way that your brain understands, organizes, and stores information. If one of the parts of your brain that control cognition is damaged by a stroke, then this can affect your ability to do certain things. Well, if your cognition is affected, then you could find it difficult to concentrate or remember certain things. You may also find it difficult to work out how to do something or know how to respond to what's going on around you. This relates to having problems with concentration. Actually, memory problems may not always be down to a problem with your memory itself. Most memory problems are actually caused by problems with concentration. This is why that encoding and processing piece we just talked about of how we are able to remember stuff is so important. If you're unable to focus on what you're being told, then you're not going to be able to remember it later, which relates to how changes with sensory processing could affect your ability to form sensory memories. What do short-term memory problems look like? Signs of short-term memory loss include finding it difficult to remember what someone just said to you and often forgetting something that you were just told. Maybe you forget the names of people as soon as you meet them. Or maybe you just don't enjoy reading books as much anymore because now you have a difficult time remembering what you just read. Short-term memory loss can also look like constantly forgetting what you're about to do. A common experience that lots of people ask about is why they might sometimes walk into a room and immediately forget what they came in there for. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have a short-term memory loss because it's normal that everyone forgets something every once in a while. So if one of these signs applies to you, it doesn't mean that you have short-term memory loss. But if you are experiencing all of these signs on a regular basis, you need to be self-aware of your memory in order to work on managing it moving forward. What do long-term memory problems look like? If it's your long-term memory that's affected, then you may find it difficult to remember when your appointments are or events and experiences from years ago. Or maybe you find yourself getting lost or confused at the same grocery store that you've been going to for years. Long-term memory loss can also look like forgetting where you put something the last time that you used it. But the good news is that it is possible to improve your memory. Memory loss is a common symptom of stroke, but just like exercising muscles can help improve mobility after a stroke, exercising the mind can help improve cognitive skills. Just as our bodies require care and exercise over the course of our life, so do our brains. Exercising the brain and mind is effective and works to improve your memory because of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to relearn skills after an injury. When you first learned how to ride a bike, it probably wasn't a smooth experience at first, but as you continued to practice, you got better. This is how neuroplasticity works, and the same concept applies to cognitive functions like memory. How can you improve your memory? You can improve it by coming to ASF to participate in therapeutic activities and by continuing to practice at home too. Occupational therapy can help whenever memory loss or cognitive challenges are affecting your day-to-day activities, or when you or others close to you notice your memory getting worse. Studies have shown that these therapeutic interventions can have a significant impact on mental health and overall wellness. Occupational therapy can not only help you improve your memory, but also improve other mental skills that can help keep your mind as sharp as possible. This is the goal that we have as occupational therapy students whenever we are planning the activities here for all of you. Working on those skills such as memory, attention, response time, intelligence, decision making, and problem solving is what can help you be able to do your daily tasks the best that you can. We intentionally plan each activity to exercise your brain to target specific thinking skills with the goal in mind of using and strengthening those cognitive skills. We know that it's a significant part of the recovery process, and just like we do our part of showing up every day with fun, creative, and purposeful activities, you can do your part by continuing to come to ASF and actively participating in them. Not only is your participation valuable at ASF, but it is just as important for you to be practicing memory-specific tasks and exercises at home too. It's best to do these over and over for a long time because the more that you exercise your memory, then the more likely you are to see improvements with your memory. What does it mean to work on improving your memory? What does that look like? There are two types of approaches that can help if you are experiencing memory loss: rehabilitation exercise and compensation strategies. Rehabilitation exercise is what you can do to improve the memory processes in your brain. This helps to encourage neuroplasticity, teaching and training your brain how to remember things better. This would look like accomplishing a task the same way that you did before your stroke, but with improved skills and a better memory. Rehabilitation exercises are also really good for preventing future memory loss as well. There's also compensation strategies. This approach uses shortcuts to help you compensate for poor memory, but still helping you remember things. This looks like accomplishing a task in a different way than you used to. Let's talk about some examples of rehabilitation exercises for your mind to improve memory skills and encourage neuroplasticity in your brain. One way to exercise your mind is by doing stimulating brain activities, puzzles, or brain teasers. These could be any game that really requires you to use your brain and think hard. It could be board games, card games, checkers, chess, or any other games that require strategy and decision making. Matching games are really good for targeting memory specifically. There are also options for individual brain stimulating games that you can play by yourself too, such as solitaire, puzzles, Sudoku, word searches, or by doing the Wordle every day. Another example is rhythm matching, which focuses on strengthening your auditory processing. You can do this by having someone tap out a simple pattern several times with their hand on the table. Then you are supposed to try to match the rhythm and repeat the beat that they just played. Another example of a rehabilitation exercise is using both of your hands. If you're able to, try using both of your hands together as much as you can. If you're holding something, try to have both of your hands hold it together. Coordinating both sides of the body can have a positive effect on both your mind and your body. If you are someone who had their dominant side affected by your stroke, you probably had to teach your non-dominant hand to do everything. That process that you had to go through of establishing a new dominant hand is very beneficial for your brain. For the same reason that using both hands is a good rehabilitation exercise, training a new dominant hand not only engages a different side of your brain, but it also stimulates your neurons to fire in a new way, which strengthens your overall cognitive function. It's also important to watch your eating habits. Eating a healthy diet can boost your brain power, like cutting down on sugar and eating more fruits and vegetables. A healthy diet is a healthy brain. Also, try your best to stay active and exercise regularly. There was a recent study with 40 stroke survivors. Researchers found that those who exercised as a mandatory part of their recovery demonstrated significant improvements in memory, cognitive function, and overall recovery. This is because physical activity raises blood flow to the whole body, including the brain. Having a good blood supply to your brain is essential for improving memory. Lastly, you can repeat and practice motions, tasks, and information to help the brain to store information for a longer time. Practicing several different cognitive rehabilitation exercises that can challenge your brain to think in unique ways causes it to create new neural pathways. These new pathways will help you strengthen many cognitive skills, such as memory and recall, and even regain some skills that you may have lost. By simply making the conscious effort in these tasks, you are engaging your brain and encouraging it to undergo growth through neuroplasticity. As you practice those memory exercises with high repetition, doing them often and for a long time, you might start to notice your memory improving. But it's also helpful to have some compensation strategies to help you remember important activities. Let's talk about some examples of compensation strategies for whenever you are having memory problems. Using reminders can be a beneficial way to compensate when you are likely to forget something important. This can include using a reminder app or a timed alarm on your phone to set reminders for important things, such as taking your medication, feeding a pet, or appointment dates. Just make sure that you turn your phone volume up if you're going to set a reminder on your phone. You could also leave notes for yourself in visible areas, such as on the mirror where you brush your teeth or on the doorknob of the front door before you leave. You can write something down on a sticky note, or a dry erase marker works well on bathroom mirrors too. Reminders could also be how you keep track of small tasks you've done as you do them so that you know if and when you've done it. If you're concerned about how long it's been since you last got an oil change or the last time that you went to the dentist, then you can keep a reminders list with the dates as you do these tasks. Reminders can also help even if writing is difficult for you. There are likely options on your phone to make voice recordings. You could use a talk to text dictation feature or take a picture of something that you can remind you about it later. You can try using other kinds of prompts too. If you often forget your wallet when you go places, a strategy might be to leave your wallet by your keys, prompting you to remember it whenever you leave the house. If you struggle to remember if you have taken your medication for the day, a pill box can help you to organize the medication that you need to take each day so that you can easily see whether you've taken it or not. Other examples of prompts could be putting up a sign in your kitchen to remind you to turn off the oven, or a sign on the back of the door to remind you to lock it whenever you go out. Compensation strategies can also include following a routine to help you reestablish your memory by doing certain tasks at the same time every day. This could be like taking your medication in the morning or locking your doors before bed. Routines are effective, especially whenever you pair it with something else that you do daily, such as eating breakfast. By taking your medication with your breakfast every day, you are less likely to forget to take it. Routines can also help you keep things in the same place. You are less likely to forget where you put your credit card if you are always putting it in the same spot. Simplification is another strategy for helping with memory. Breaking down activities into smaller steps can make them more manageable. Instead of making meals with long lists of ingredients and steps to follow from a recipe, consider making less complicated foods or using pre-cut fruits and vegetables. Making lists is another way to help manage memory problems. It's crucial to keep lists for things that you need to remember, such as items that you need from the grocery store. These are just some examples of strategies that you can use to help compensate for memory loss. To summarize, sensory, short term, and long term are all types of memory. Just like exercising muscles can help improve mobility after a stroke, exercising the mind can help improve cognitive skills. Rehabilitation exercises and compensation strategies are two ways that can help manage memory problems. And remember that it is possible for your memory to improve, and there are many options you can do to help with memory loss and overall feel confident about doing your daily activities.